When I was wrongfully arrested, my parents refused to pay my bail, not due to a lack of funds, but simply out of spite. Finally, my father told the lawyer, "Don't assist him. He's no longer our concern. Let him suffer." I just grinned through the bars and replied, "You'll regret this choice for the rest of your lives." That was 2 years ago. Last week, they discovered my meticulously planned scheme, and today they are crying uncontrollably, pleading for forgiveness. I feel compelled to share this because I can't sleep and keep replaying it in my mind. Honestly, I want to see if anyone else has experienced something so outrageous with their family. I'm not seeking sympathy. I just need to express what happened, and maybe someone will understand why I'm so furious. If you think I'm fabricating this, I understand. It sounds unbelievable, but I assure you it's real. Let me start with the strangest part. It was a Tuesday, which I remember because I had this silly habit of getting coffee from a gas station that day, and my mom always reacted as though I was harming myself. When I got home, the house was unusually quiet, which was odd. My dad usually had the TV on, and my mom was often on her phone. But that day, there was silence. I walked in, and my mom was just sitting at the kitchen table, staring at her mug. My dad stood by the window, arms crossed, not even pretending to look at anything. I said, "Hey," and my mom merely nodded without looking up. I thought perhaps someone had passed away, but no one spoke. I went to my room and noticed my door was open, which was unusual since I always kept it closed. My belongings were scattered across the bed, as if someone had rummaged through them. I asked my mom if she had been in my room, and she said she was just tidying up. I protested that it didn't look tidy, and she shrugged. My dad remained silent, just standing there. I began to feel like something was off, like I was being set up for something, but I couldn't pinpoint it. When I plugged in my phone, I realized my charger was missing. I asked my mom, and she claimed she hadn't seen it. I checked the living room, nothing. Back in my room, I noticed my backpack was gone. I asked my dad, who simply suggested I might have left it somewhere. I knew I hadn't. I was starting to get irritated, and when I voiced my frustration, my mom told me to calm down, saying I was always so dramatic. I insisted I wasn't being dramatic. I just wanted my things. She said maybe if I were more responsible, I wouldn't lose things. I countered that I hadn't lost it. Someone had taken it. Finally, my dad turned around and said I needed to stop blaming others for my problems. So I went to my room, trying to ignore everything, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I texted my sister, Lola, who was at a friend's house. She hadn't seen my backpack either and mentioned that Mom had been acting weird, asking if she knew where I kept my important items. Lola thought it might be about my passport or something similar, but was unsure. I told her to keep me updated if she heard anything else. The next morning, my dad banged on my door, demanding I get up for a talk. When I entered the kitchen, my mom was already there, arms crossed, looking furious. My dad accused me of being lazy and having a bad attitude. I responded that I was busy with work and classes. My mom said I was wasting time and that I would never amount to anything, dragging them down. I argued that it was unfair since I paid rent and helped out without asking for anything. My dad insisted it wasn't enough and that I was a burden, and they were done with me. When I asked what that meant, my mom said I had to move out. I protested that I had nowhere to go, and she said that wasn't her concern. My dad claimed I should have thought about that before disrespecting them. I asked what I had done, and he said I knew. I honestly didn't have a clue. I wondered if it was about the time I forgot to take out the trash, but my mom laughed, saying it was about everything. I argued that wasn't a real answer, and my dad accused me of making excuses. I tried to defend myself, asserting that I had a right to be there since I paid rent. My dad insisted it was their house, their rules, and if I didn't like it, I could leave. I said, "Fine, I'll leave, but I want my things." My mom claimed my things were already packed and pointed to a bag by the door. When I went to grab it, my dad blocked my way, saying, "You're not taking anything you didn't pay for." I argued that most of it was mine, and he challenged me to prove it. I mentioned I had receipts, but he didn't care. When I tried to push past him, he shoved me back, and in response, I shoved him. He slapped me, and I stood there, unsure of what to do. My mom threatened to call the cops if I didn't leave, so I grabbed my bag and went outside, standing in the rain, with no clue what to do. I texted Lola, but she said she couldn't help because Mom told her not to talk to me. I tried to call a friend, but my phone died. I went to a coffee shop to charge my phone, but my charger was still missing. I sat there, staring at the wall, trying to wrap my head around what had just happened. Later that day, I received a call from an unknown number. It was a lawyer saying my parents wanted a restraining order against me for allegedly threatening them. I denied it, but he said it wasn't his problem. He was just doing his job. I inquired if I could go back to retrieve my things, but he said no unless they agreed, which I knew they wouldn't. In the following days, I crashed on a friend's couch, trying to figure out my next steps. I attempted to access my bank account, but my parents had already changed the password. My car was gone, and when I called the police, they said it was a civil matter and there was nothing they could do. I tried to get a new phone, but my parents canceled my plan. I realized this situation wasn't just about me being annoying or lazy. My parents had always been strict, but this was a whole new level. It felt like they wished I would just disappear, as if I were some kind of embarrassment to them. I started feeling angry, not just at them, but at myself for not seeing this coming. I always thought if I just worked harder, they would respect me, but clearly, that was never going to happen. I began to think about how I could retaliate, not just for being kicked out, but for everything they had done to me. I wanted them to experience what I felt, to know what it was like to feel powerless. I made a list of every hurtful thing they'd done, every time they belittled me, and I brainstormed ways to hit them where it hurt, not only emotionally but financially. I knew things about them that they wouldn't want anyone else to know, and I began plotting my revenge. I know some people might say I should just move on, but I can't, not after everything they did. They made their choice, and now I'm making mine. That's how it all began, and I'm not finished yet. If you want to know what happened next, just let me know. I'm just getting started. Update 1. I didn't expect so many people to read the first part, but I guess everyone loves a good family drama. I'm still not sure if I'm writing this for myself or for those who keep messaging me, but here's what happened after they kicked me out. Yes, I'm still angry, and no, I'm not going to just move on. If you're looking for a feel-good story, you're in the wrong place. After they told me to get out and that I was dead to them, I was essentially couch surfing with just a bag of clothes, my phone on the verge of being cut off, and about $40. I was sleeping on an old futon at my friend's place, waking up each morning and staring at the ceiling, thinking about how my parents were likely at home acting as if nothing had happened. I kept replaying my dad's last words about how I belonged in jail. It sounds dramatic, but that's what he said to the lawyer. Meanwhile, my friend's mom would come in, asking if I wanted toast as if I were just visiting for the weekend. I scrolled through my phone, seeing my parents posting on Facebook about their peaceful home and fresh starts. It was as if I had been erased. I started feeling an urge to make them feel the same way they made me feel, but not before ensuring they experienced the consequences of their actions. The first thing I did was try to get my belongings back. I texted Lola, and she told me that Mom had boxed up all my stuff and put it in the garage. I asked her to grab my laptop, but Mom was watching her closely. I told her not to get involved, but she sent me a thumbs up, classic Lola, always trying to help, even when it was a bad idea. Out of the blue, I received a call from my dad's lawyer again. He said my parents wanted to ensure I wouldn't come near the house, and that if I tried to contact them, they would press charges for trespassing and harassment. I asked what I had done, and he just said it was whatever they could claim. I asked if I could at least retrieve my things, and he said I'd have to arrange that through him. I agreed but insisted on getting everything, not just what they decided to give me. After hanging up, I sat there, contemplating how my parents were literally paying a lawyer to keep me away, but wouldn't pay bail to get me out. I began creating a list, not just of my belongings, but of everything I knew about them. I remembered their passwords, which they never changed, even after I moved out. I knew where they kept important papers and who they owed money to. My dad had always cared about appearances, but was terrible with finances. He had credit card debt, a second mortgage, and was constantly borrowing from family. My mom pretended everything was fine, but was always stressed about bills. I began to think that if they wanted to cut me off, maybe I could do the same to them. I logged into my old email, the one my dad set up for me when I was a kid. He never changed the recovery information, so I still had access. I found numerous emails from banks, credit card companies, and even a few from debt collectors. I didn't take any action yet. I just read through them to gauge how serious the situation was. It was worse than I thought. They were behind on payments and received a notice about their car being repossessed if they didn't pay soon. I took screenshots just in case. Meanwhile, I continued trying to recover my belongings. I texted the lawyer again, and he informed me that I could visit the house at a specific time, but only if I brought someone with me as a witness. I asked my friend Pablo to come along, and he agreed but made it clear he wasn't getting involved in any drama. When we arrived, my dad was waiting at the door, arms crossed, looking furious. My mom was behind him, holding a box. I asked if that contained all my things, and she said it was what I deserved. I requested to check it, and my dad warned that if I took anything that wasn't mine, he would call the cops. I opened the box, and half my belongings were missing. When I inquired about my laptop, my dad claimed it was evidence. I asked evidence of what, and he just shrugged. I attempted to grab the box, but he grabbed my arm. I pulled away, and he shoved me. Pablo intervened, telling him to back off, but my mom slammed the door in our faces. Frustrated, we left, and Pablo shook his head, saying, "My parents are crazy." I replied, "Yeah, tell me something I don't know." Back at my friend's place, I dumped out the box only to discover my hard drive was missing. That's when my anger truly flared, not just at them, but at myself for letting things escalate this far. I started planning my revenge, not just petty acts but meaningful payback. I knew my parents cared deeply about their image, so I began revealing the truth to those who mattered. I texted my nosy aunt, explaining what had happened. At first, she didn't believe me, saying my parents would never do such a thing. I sent her the screenshots of the emails and the lawyer's messages. She called my mom, leading to a huge argument, and my mom texted Lola, claiming I was trying to ruin the family. Lola urged me to be careful, saying, "Mom is freaking out." I started thinking about money since my parents had always made me pay rent, even when I was struggling. I knew they depended on that money, so I stopped paying. I also realized my dad had used my name for some bills, so I called the companies and had my name removed. It took a few days, but eventually, they began reaching out to my dad instead of me. He texted me saying I was ungrateful, but I didn't respond. I also started communicating with people my parents owed money to, not in a hostile manner, just informing them of the situation and that I wasn't responsible for their debts. Some were angry, while others expressed sympathy. Regardless, the news got back to my parents. My dad called, leaving a voicemail accusing me of destroying the family. I deleted it without listening. Meanwhile, Lola was still at home, and she said Mom was growing more paranoid, constantly checking her phone and asking if she was in touch with me. Lola reassured me she wasn't, but she was worried about escalating tensions at home. I told her to stay cautious, and that I would figure something out. As time passed, my parents became increasingly desperate. My dad began posting passive-aggressive quotes on Facebook about betrayal and family loyalty. My mom reached out, asking if we could talk, but I ignored her, knowing they were only reaching out of fear, not genuine concern. The final straw came when I discovered my parents attempted to open a credit card in my name. I received an alert from the bank about suspicious activity. I called them, clarified it wasn't me, and they froze the account. I texted my dad, warning him that if he tried it again, I would go to the police. He didn't respond. So that's where I stand. I'm not finished yet, but I'm just getting started. My parents wanted me gone. Now they'll discover what that truly means. I'm not simply going to disappear. I intend to make sure they feel the consequences every single day. If you're still reading, thanks. I'll update when there's more. Trust me, it gets worse. Update 2. This is where things started to become more interesting, or at least more real. I didn't expect it to escalate this far, but once you start pushing back, it feels unstoppable. Have you ever felt fed up with being the one who gets walked all over? That's exactly how I felt. I was exhausted from being the family scapegoat, tired of everyone acting like I was the problem, when all I ever did was keep my head down. After the jail incident, once they left me there and told the lawyer not to help, I couldn't let it slide. Some might say I should have just moved on, but not after that. I started with something small. While scrolling through my phone, I noticed my dad shared a strange meme about cutting out toxic people, claiming family isn't always blood. I thought, dude, you're the one who left your own child in jail. I didn't respond. I just took a screenshot and sent it to Lola. She replied with a laughing emoji and mentioned that Mom was acting strangely, constantly checking her phone and snapping at her for no reason. Lola was considering moving out, but didn't have a place yet. I encouraged her to hang in there, hinting that things were about to get messy. I focused on the financial aspect because I knew that was where it would hurt them the most. My parents always prioritized appearances over reality, preferring others to think we were affluent rather than actually being okay. I knew they were behind on bills, so I began probing weak points. I called the phone company to ensure my name was off everything. I contacted the bank to freeze any joint accounts linked to my name and even informed the insurance company that I no longer lived at that address, forcing them to update their policy. Everything was legitimate, nothing illegal, just ensuring I wasn't responsible for anything, but it made their lives significantly harder, and I was aware of it. I started talking to people, not just family, but also those my parents owed money to. I didn't instigate drama, but if the topic came up, I told the truth. I explained that my parents kicked me out and that I wasn't accountable for their debts. Word spread quickly, and my uncle called, saying he heard I was causing trouble. I told him I was merely stating the facts. He warned me to be cautious since my dad was furious, but I didn't care. As my parents grew increasingly desperate, my dad left a lengthy voicemail, claiming I was ruining the family. I deleted it without listening. Meanwhile, Lola provided updates, sharing that mom was crying frequently and dad was yelling more than usual. One night, he even threw his phone against the wall. Lola said she was trying to stay out of their way, but was worried about what might happen if things escalated. I told her to keep her head down. I'd figure something out. Then one day, I received a message from an old family friend, Jane, who said she had heard I was going through a tough time and asked if I needed assistance. I said I was fine, but she mentioned people were talking about my parents and that they were in trouble. I thanked her and left it at that, but it got me thinking. If people were already discussing the situation, perhaps I could push it even further. I started dropping hints, nothing too overt, just subtle comments. I'd reply to my dad's posts, asking if he had paid back certain debts, and respond to my mom's Facebook stories with questions about the bills. I knew it would irritate them, and it did. My dad blocked me, while my mom began posting even more passive-aggressive content. Lola mentioned that they were panicking, and Dad was considering severing ties with anyone who sided with me. Things escalated when I learned about my dad's side hustle that he wanted to keep hidden. I didn't expose him, but I made sure the right people started asking questions. I casually mentioned it to my uncle, and suddenly, my dad was receiving calls from everyone. He called me furious, claiming I was destroying everything. I hung up on him. My mom attempted to get Lola to spy on me, asking if I was planning anything. Lola played dumb, but when Mom got angry and slapped her, Lola slammed her door. Afterward, she texted me, saying she was done and would move out as soon as possible. I offered her a place to stay if needed. That's where things stand now. My parents are essentially isolated, and everyone is aware of what they did. They're scrambling to maintain appearances, but I'm not finished yet. I know some might say I'm being cruel, but after everything they did, I don't care. They wanted me gone, and now they'll understand what that truly means. I'll update when there's more. Trust me, it's not over. Final update. This is likely the part everyone has been waiting for, or at least the part I've been anticipating. I didn't expect it to reach this point, but here we are. If you've read the previous updates, you know my parents left me in jail and told the lawyer not to help, basically declaring me dead to them. I warned them they would regret it, and I meant it. I'm not claiming to be a mastermind, but I've been observant and haven't let this go. The first odd occurrence was my dad texting me out of the blue, as if nothing had happened. He sent a brief message asking, "Can we talk?" with no punctuation or explanation. I didn't respond. Then, my mom started calling repeatedly, which was unusual for her. I let it go to voicemail, where she left a long message, voice trembling, saying they needed to see me and that it was important. I didn't call back. I should have anticipated it, but it still felt strange for them to suddenly want to talk after 2 years of silence. Lola texted me, mentioning that Mom was crying constantly and Dad was hardly sleeping. They were arguing about money, the house, and me. I inquired about Lola's well-being, and she assured me she was fine, just exhausted by the drama. She mentioned that Dad was blaming her for not holding the family together, and she firmly told him to leave her alone, slamming her door. Here's what actually transpired. I had been working on this for a while, not just out of spite, but because I wanted them to experience what they did to me. I knew their vulnerabilities about the loans, credit cards, and second mortgage. I realized my dad was using my name for several bills, and I ensured my name was removed from everything. I contacted the bank, phone company, insurance, and everyone involved to protect myself. It took months, but eventually, the bank began probing into their accounts. My parents started receiving calls and letters, and they attempted to blame me, claiming I was sabotaging them. I defended myself, stating I was merely protecting my interests. They tried to guilt-trip me, saying I was tearing the family apart, but I reminded them they did that when they left me in jail. One day, my dad showed up at my place, yelling and trying to confront me. I told him to leave, but he attempted to push past me. I blocked the door, and when he shoved me, I pushed him back. He called me a traitor, insisting I would regret my actions. I simply laughed and closed the door. The following week, I received messages from acquaintances, old family friends, and neighbors asking about what was going on. They wanted to know why my parents were suddenly selling possessions and discussing moving. I replied, "Ask them." I owed no one an explanation. Then came the day when my parents appeared at my door together. I was at home, scrolling through my phone when I heard loud banging. I peeked through the peephole and saw them looking disheveled, as if they hadn't slept for days. I opened the door just enough to see them, but not let them in. My mom immediately started crying, expressing their remorse and stating they needed my help. My dad stood there, arms crossed, looking furious. I asked what they wanted. My mom explained they were losing the house, that the bank was going to take it, and they didn't know what to do. She pleaded for my assistance in resolving the situation. My dad finally spoke up, claiming I owed them because I was their son. I stared at them, incredulous, and said, "You left me in jail. You told everyone I was dead to you, and now you want my help." My mom began begging, literally on her knees, grabbing my arm, but I pulled away. My dad tried to act tough, asserting that family sticks together. I countered, "Family doesn't leave you to rot." He attempted to push past me, and when I blocked him, he shoved me. My mom slapped me, and I stood there, unwavering. She began sobbing, saying I couldn't do this to them, that I was their only hope. I told them I was done, and that they had to live with the consequences of their choices. My dad yelled that I was ungrateful and would regret my actions, but I simply closed the door on them. They tried everything. They contacted Lola, begging for her to talk to me. She blocked them. They tried to involve my aunt, but she insisted it was between us. They even reached out to some of my old friends, but no one wanted to get involved. Eventually, I heard from Lola that they ended up selling the house and moving into a small apartment. My dad lost most of his friends, and my mom stopped posting on Facebook. They have become virtually invisible now. Sometimes I see them around town, but they never look at me. I don't go out of my way to avoid them, but I don't engage with them either. Some may argue that I went too far and should have forgiven them, but I don't care. They left me in jail and declared me dead to them. They wanted me gone, and now they understand what that truly means. So that's my story. I'm not seeking advice or sympathy. I just wanted to share it. If you're still reading, thank you. I'm not worried about what comes next. I did what I had to do, and they must now bear the consequences of their choices.